לא מלן את התאיר. איתה, שמיתה, לא רוצה לשמוע אותך, נו. לא רוצה. Okay, we finally finished everything that you're supposed to do concerning Basar Bechalav. We're finally getting to what you're not supposed to do. What about the bad things that happen? That starts Siman Tzadik Aleph. Basically, milk and cheese touch each other. What do you do? That's what we're starting. From now till the end is pretty much there's the bad stuff. A little bit maybe not Tzadik. Hey, a little bit. But otherwise, it's pretty much bad. Okay, so the build-up of Siman Tzadik Aleph starts off with Tzoinen. Okay. What do you do when things touch each other cold? Does cold do anything? Then it goes to hot, and then it goes to melicha. That's the build-up of the Siman. So Aleph, Beis, Gimel is cold, Daled is hot, and Hey and Vav is melicha, meliach kereteach. Zion is a special halacha, but it's missing one major component that is not mentioned here for some odd reason, which is kavush, which we mentioned many times. It's part of tzoinin, but it's really part of the melicha family because it actually transfers tam. So if you put meat into milk for 24 hours, it's kavush. In the counterpart, or the siman hamakbilo, how do you say that in English? It's parent, or it's twin siman in Hilchos Taaruvos, which is siman kuf hey. There, the mechaber also starts off with kavush. Actually, he starts off with kavush. Here, for some reason, doesn't talk about kavush. So he starts off with tzoinen. So he makes a yisod. The yisod starts in Sif Aleph. The basar and gvina that touch each other, tzoinen. There's no real essential problem. There's no transfer of tam. Cold does not make a transfer of tam. Sachakol, what does cold do? Requires hadocha. Beseder, do hadocha. So if basar touch gvina betzoinen, you do hadocha. The shach makes a ha'oreh from the bach. By the way, you only need hadocha if there's some moisture there. But if they're completely dry, you don't even need hadocha. You take a dry piece of something and put it on the table, and you take it off. It should be clean. I mean, if you see there's any schmaltz or something, you should do hadocha. But otherwise, it's not a problem. There is some moisture. Beseder, so you need hadocha. Beseder. Okay. The problem is, it says in the Lashon HaMechaber, "V'lo chayshinon shemo yigo zeh b'zeh." And you could put them together, close to each other, and we're not worried that they'll touch each other. Chilo is if they do touch each other, the world comes to an end. What happens if they touch each other? Do hadocha. Mikan raya, that you're not allowed to lechatchila do something that will require you to do hadocha. The reason, pashut, you might forget. In other words, don't break it in order to fix it. You understand? Don't break something in order to fix something. Lechatchila, don't break it. Very simple. Even if it touches, all you need is hadocha. Now, by the way, that automatically teaches me that if it's something that's urchei behadocha, something that you're anyways going to do hadocha, it's no problem. Kegoin basar chai. For example, you have basar chai, raw meat. What does raw meat over here mean, by the way? It doesn't mean meat out of your freezer or fridge. Because that's not necessarily urchei behadocha. It means basar that you didn't do melicha. That you must do hadocha before melicha. So you're anyways going to do hadocha. You touched chazer, cold chazer, what's it in? Are you allowed to do lechatchila? Could you take basar chai and touch chazer lechatchila? Meikaradin, do not try this at home. Is it mutter or not? Yeah, because you're going to do hadocha anyways. Why did I say chazer and not cheese? Because the cheese is not urche b'hadocha. So you have to do hadocha on the cheese. So it's not going to help you. That's why I brought an example of treif. So you have basar chai that touched treif. So the only thing that requires hadocha is the basar chai, because the treif is anyways treif. You're not fixing that with hadocha. So maybe you could do it because you're going to do hadocha sa pashut tezach. So the Taz grade sounds like the Balo Itur made up this chidush. Oh, that means that if it needs hadocha, you can't do it lechatchila. Shmami no. I mean, that's exactly what the Gemara says. Exactly what the Mechaber says. V'lo chashino shema yigo zeh b'zeh.
Lechatchila, can I make liquid to have something else like kalaf kippah?
No, for sure not. Madach hadocha, you can't. Clip it, for sure you can't. We'll see with the Hava minutes.
No, because I would say just like this you can. This you should be able to.
You can't. What do you mean? Clip it,
I'm saying is the whole proof of the Itu is that it says hadocha boy. Maybe just say hadocha boy. How you shouldn't do it without hadocha. Like the Gemara always says.
Then it wouldn't say lechashina shema yigo zeh b'zeh. Who cares if yigo zeh b'zeh?
Then you're gonna have to do hadocha.
Right, and you might forget.
Because you don't want to do hadocha.
Because you might forget.
That's how the Itu teaches it.
That's pashib shat in the Gemara. That's pashib shat in the Gemara. So the Taz comes at a ganze kvetch, but I just want to say a pashut to her nekuda that I saw in Moreinu V'Rabbeinu, the Pri Hodor, the Pri Chasfidim, as a geschmack word. Actually, what type of hadocha was the Gemara referring to? Basar that touches gevina. Now, why are you not allowed to touch them lechatchila? Pashut pshat, you might say, not because you might forget to do hadocha, for a totally different reason. Not because you don't want to do hadocha, because you might actually eat them together. If Basar and Gvina could touch each other, you might forget to separate them and eat them together. Now, if that's the case, it has nothing to do with Hadocha. What if it's something you're for sure not going to eat together? Give me an example. A keli. Put flesh on a milchik keli. You are eating the keli? You can't eat a keli, right? So I would have thought then you're allowed. The chidush is, says the Baalei Yiter, that the pshat in the Gemara was taki, you might forget to do Hadocha. That's why by a keli you're also not allowed to do lechatchila, because you might forget to do Hadocha. Otherwise, I would have learned the reason why the Gemara says make sure they don't touch each other is because you might eat them together. Maimer Hamuzgir now.
So who says that, Tom?
The Baalei Yiter brings this as a teretz pshat in the Baalei Yiter. The pre-hodder, says this as a teretz in the Baalei Yiter. Okay. Maimer Hamuzgir, there's a primigodim on the list, right in the beginning, in Sif Sedas, that he brings from a mechaber later that says that two dry things that are salted, that touch each other, basar and gvina, even if it's dry, you need Hadocha. Here, the Shach just said from the Bach that if they're dry, what do you need? Remind me? If it's dry, completely dry, what do you need? Nothing. So why over there? He says, it must be melicha is different. I can't figure out for the life of me, says the Prima God, why melicha would be different. So all the achronim answered, there's a big difference. When basar dry touches gvina dry, and then you separate them, what happened? What went from the basar to the gvina or the gvina to the basar? Nothing. But when they have salt particles on each other, even if they're dry and they touch each other, what mixed? The salt particles. So you have to wash it off. The particles, they're dry, take. But a drop of dry salt went onto the gvina, and a drop of meat salt went onto the cheese salt went onto the basar, and basar went onto the gvina. That's why you have to wash it. This is all the simple stuff. Okay. Now comes Siv Beis. This is the key. The big shach, the big tas, and the shiur. Even if you didn't learn the whole shach and tas, it doesn't matter. I'm going to tell you the sikum. Later, when you learn it, hopefully you'll have an easier time. Says the mechaber in Siv Beis, which really starts off in the Torah from the Baalei Yiter with the word Shema Mino, call midi de boy adoche. Anything that needs adoche, keep going. Laniach basar heter tzoyne b'kaira shlisar tzoyne, putting basar that's cold on a cold treifa plate, also known as an hour halachas of Basar Bechalav, a milchike cold plate. Also obviously you're not allowed, because you might forget to do adocha. By the way, v'dafkim mevushul, if it's meat that you're not planning to wash, talav urche ba'adocha. Avamid the urche ba'adocha. You get basar chai v'kayetze b'shor lechatchila. Raw meat, meaning that you never salted, so you have to do adocha. And as we discussed before, you could put chazer directly on a piece of basar chai. Why? Because you're not going to forget to do adocha, because you anyways have to do adocha. It's a very, very simple case. Nobody would explode on this Baalei Yiter. There would be no big shacks, big tazes, big darkei moishes, big toides chatas. If you just, learn this very simple. The problem with the Baalei Yiter is that his chiddush seems to tell me that you might forget to do hadocha. That's the whole chiddush, correct? But inadvertently, he threw us a curveball that nobody knows what to do with. He gave us an example of something that needs hadocha. What's the example? Putting kosher on a treifa keli. Everybody explodes. Laman Hashem, why do you even need hadocha? What in the world? If this table is treif, it's perfectly clean, and I put something kosher on it and I take it off, what table gives time? It's cold. What's the problem? Mela basar to touch gvine. What are we afraid of if it's a little wet? Then a drop of gvine, cold, went on the surface of the basar. A drop of basar went on the surface. A keli? What are you eating kalim over here? What are you talking? It doesn't even need hadocha. That's where everybody explodes. Everybody likes the Baalei Yiter, that anything that does need adocha, by the way, don't do it lechatchila and rely on the adocha, because you might to forget. Say that. Oh, but the kegoin is where everybody flips out. Kegoin, basar heter tzoynen, it should have said, big vino tzoynenes, or be'isr tzoynen, be'kairo shal isr tzoynen. What in the world? That's basically what's flying over here. That's the whole crux of the shaila. This is the place, if I ask you a question, in Mitzvah Shem, you'll be going on shidduch dates, and you want to go to a lounge in a what do you call it, in a hotel. Can I order a cold drink in a glass? That's the question. This here's the place. If you need adoche, can you order a cold drink? No, because you can't even do adoche on the drink, right? If you don't need adoche, then yes. Here's the place where we have to find out if you need adoche when you use a cold treifa keli or not. That's assuming that their glasses are treif. We'll get to that in the end of the year if we have time. But it's assuming that their glasses are treif, and I want to have a cold drink. Can I or can I not? It's clear from this mechaber, this Baalei Yiter, you cannot. It's very clear. It says clearly, putting kosher in a treif keli requires adocha. And drinks you can't do adocha are for sure osir. And even if it was a food, you can't do it lechatchila. Esnish to ask you to eat. And you're going to rely on the adocha. You're not allowed, because you might forget to eat adocha. This is where everybody flips out. All right. Comes the Darkei Moshe, which is a Hagah from the Ramah on the Baalei Yiter. also in the Torah Chatos, which is another sefer from the Ramah for the newcomers who don't remember from the original Shiur, who wrote what? You'll have to figure that out eventually. And not only does he say that this Bala Yitur doesn't make any sense, he brings a bunch of proofs from different places in the Shoinim, yeah, that actually, and Gemaras, that actually you're allowed to put cold on a keli that's treif, and not a problem. It's like Gemara in Psochim, that got chametz. You could use a chametz dike keli on Pesach for things that are cold. I mean, finished. It's not a problem. Nothing happens. You're not eating keli. Nobody's eating keli. Like, what are you talking about? Right? But the Bala Yitur still says that apparently you need adocha. He was a huge Talmud Chacham. He was a Rishon. He for sure knew Kol HaTorah Kula. So if he could disagree with the other Rishonim, but he himself, what's he going to do with the Gemaras? Right? So the Rambam came with a few options. One balabatish teretz and two halachic terutzim. The balabatish teretz is very simple. The case of the Bala Yitur is it's a dirty keli. You didn't clean it well. Simple. Simple bala. It's not fully clean. It's not fully. So obviously it's like touching treif, touching vina. Basically you have a milky keli that has a little cheese on it, dry, cold cheese. Touch kivibasa on it. So what's the din? You need to do a doche, beseder, right? Or a treifa keli. But if it's taka clean, nobody ever says you need a doche. Not only you're allowed to do it because we don't care about forgetting, you bechlau don't need a doche. Okay, that's the balabatish teretz. Doesn't really fly, says the Ramah, on his own because, I mean, if you read the Bala Yitur, it doesn't say that it's dirty, right? Usually that's a huge chiddush. That is dirty. So he gives two halachic options to find for why the Bala Yitur would say that on the treifa keli you need a doche. Number one, when don't you need hadocha on a keli? All those other places is when the thing you're putting there is dry. Similar to the bach, right? When it's dry, then you don't need hadocha. And even not only a keli, even foods, the bach says you don't need hadocha. But when it says that a keli, all those places in the Gemara, and the Shayna was dry. But if it's wet, you taka need hadocha. We still don't know why, but that's what he says. It doesn't really make sense, even if it's wet. Who cares? You put wet stuff on the table, it's still clean. But let's assume he comes up with a teretz that if it's wet, that's when you need a doche.
Well, the wetness would be from the treif, no?
No, the thing you're putting down is wet.
Oh, right.
Okay, it's a clean keli. End of story. Whatever's wet here is kosher. Again, we're not now entering the svara. We're entering the contradictions that the Ramah brought. I still have a problem. It doesn't make any sense. What do I care, right? However, to enter the stiros that we have from the places that the Ramah proved that you're indeed allowed, he says, sure, those places are talking about dry. And the Bala Yitur was talking about wet. Okay, option number one. Option number two is it all depends how the keli became treif. All the places where it says that you're not allowed to put the Bala Yitur, let's start the other way. All the places where the Gemara say that you're allowed to put kosher on a treif keli, how did it become treif? Betzoinen. Now, you might ask me, tzoinen, how could tzoinen make treif? The same way tzoinen, cold doesn't take out time, how did it put time into the keli? So we know of two halachic things that are really tzoinen, but they have a din of hot. What is that? Melicha and kvisha. For the rest of Shulchan Aruch, we're never going to call that tzoinen. That's really cham. I mean, al pitoid it's cham. But for this halacha, says the Ramah, no, that's a downgraded style of blia. It's not as embedded in the keli if it's just tzoinen. Even though al pi halacha it's keretech. You're not going to actually burn your finger when you touch covers, right? You're not going to actually burn your finger when you touch salt unless you have a cut, right? You're not going to. So it's called blia bitzoinen. So if the keli was lechatchila b'leya bitzoinen, for example, you use the keli that you salted meat in, yeah? And dam went in, bitzoinen, right? That's how the dam got in. You salted meat, so the dam went into the keli, bitzoinen. Now I want to put kosher flesh on the keli, bitzoinen. No problem, as long as it's clean. But if the kli was beleya bechamin, you go to a guy's house that poshit cooked chazet treif, yeah, and you want to use his plate for cold, that you're not allowed. It was bola bechamin. You're not allowed, even though now it's tzoinen, yeah, nothing. But if it was bola betzoinen, then you take don't need hadoche. But if it was bola bechamin, that's the case of the Bala Yitur. So the case of the Bala Yitur, according to this teretz of the Ramah, is the case that the kli was beleya bechamin. This is how you have to read it. Lahaniach basar heter tzoinen. The kaida shall isur. How did the kaida become treif? Bechamin. Now you're putting something tzoinen. Now it's tzoinen. So when it says tzoinen, it doesn't mean isur tzoinen that it was beleya b'tzoinen. Now it's tzoinen. But how was the kli beleya? Bechamin. Okay, beautiful. So the Ramah gives three options. One option is it's taka always mutter. The Bala Yitur is only talking about a weird case that the kli is dirty. Option number two is the Bala Yitur is only talking about that it's wet. Something is wet. Doesn't mean liquid, wet. Third option is even if it's dry or clean, you're only allowed if the kli was beleya be tzoinen. And the Bala Yitur is talking about a keli that was beleya be Okay. If you take all these three tirutzim under Ramah and you don't know which one is right, what do you do? What do you do? Tell me. What do you do?
If it's wet.
Number one, if it's clean, the only time you're allowed to put it b'tzoinin without hadocha is 3 tnoim. Has to be clean. The kli has to be beleya b'tzoinin, and what you're putting now is only yavish. Yavish. 3. You take the chumrah of all the tirutzim, right? The chumrah of all the tirutzim. Number 1 has to be clean. Number 2, the kli is only beleya b'tzoinin. And number 3, only dry. It's exactly what the Ramah says. The Dafke says the Ramah, when do we say you need hadocha? Dover sheyesh b'lachluchis k'tzas. Aval dover yavish mamish, Tanai number 1. Im loy bol hakli rak b'tzoinin, Tanai number 2. Yeah? And obviously it's clean because he doesn't say it's dirty. Then mutu aniach b'dover yavish b'lei hadocha klal. Then you don't need hadocha. So the whole balayita that's talking about you need hadocha, the Ramah says was talking about a case that it was the balayita was talking about a case that you need hadocha anything unless it was clean, bala b'tzoinin, and yavish.
He
Then
doesn't mention the second answer.
Huh?
He does not mention the second answer. Like
clean. It's obviously clean. The first answer you mean?
second.
I mentioned it first. Obviously, he's talking about clean. Doesn't say dirty, sometimes it's clean. So that's what the Ramah makes a lot of sense. You take the Darkei Moshe and you take a Teres Chatos, which is both written by the Ramah, and you fuse them together. This is what you get. Give me a second. Yeah, hello. I'm in Shiur. Yeah. No, tell me. I'm in Shiur. Okay, Kaif. Yeah, could you put on a credit card without increasing? Negotiate on that. I'll see you. Bye. Bye.
So what was that? That the Ramah takes what he
Whatever, all the Terutzim that he wrote, and he picked only the Chumras because he doesn't know which Teretz is right. So what do you do if you don't know what's right? You go to Chumras. So you found one case that you could actually put something on the Treif Keli. That's B'tzoinin. A B'tzoinin without Hadocha. That is if it's clean. The Kli was the Chatchila Bala B'tzoinin, and you're putting Yov, which is almost impossible today. Nothing's Bala B'tzoinin. If you have a glass in a bar or let's say a lounge, if it's Treif, how did it become Treif? Becham, dishwasher, a sink, nobody's salting treif in there, nobody's doing kovush. Kovush maybe. Chametz maybe. Okay. Akitzer. So that's how it does. So before I go to explain the Taz, let's start with the Taz. The Taz has a few issues here. Number 1, the Lashon Ramah doesn't make any sense. Look at the Ramah. Imlei bol akli rak b'tzoinin, mutal aliyach by davar yavish. You just said we're talking about yavish. Why are you repeating the word yavish? Is that correct? The Lashon doesn't make sense. Number 2, he found a Gemara that says that if it was Bala B'tzoinin, you could even use Cham. Look at the Taz, 3rd line from the top, on page Kuvov. V'nizbayer mikol zed. You all have it? On top, v'nizbayer mikol zed. He brings a Gemara. The Kalisha nishtamish by Yisur Tzoinin, mutal laniach by b'yovish Cham. K'moshe zacharno b'kli chometz. She'im nishtamshu by b'tzoinin, mutal laniach by afilu matzah b'chamin. A kli that was bala b'tzoinin, you could use even cham. Nobody came over to ask me a question. Nobody. Maybe you all asked the begans. Nobody came to ask me a question. That makes absolutely no sense in the world. You cannot use any cham on a treif keli. What does that mean? If the keli is treif because it was bala b'tzoinin, you salted or you were koivish isur in a keli, you think you could use now yovesh cham? What is that supposed to mean? Correct?
Well, according to the opinion that says.
What opinion?
The answer that as long
Well, you said it's a Gemara. No, we're talking about using it for tzoinin. You're putting it now cham.
Yeah, but as long as it's yavish.
Who cares? Since when?
The one that says that.
He says you can put yovish tzoinin. I'm adding now yovish cham.
I was thinking if it's
Yes, the kli is, but you're putting hot food, huh?
You're saying if it's sentence that doesn't ball anything.
Well, we're talking about bala b'tzoinin. Bala b'tzoinin means it was beleya. That's what we're talking about over here. Bala kli, but that's what the Ramaz mechadish. And if it's bala b'tzoinin, the Taz says you can even use cham. So I'll give you a sheker dike attempt at teretz. Why am I doing that to you? Why am I playing with your minds and telling you a sheker dike teretz? Because I want you to know this new halacha that I'm going to try to bring in over here and then show you why it's sheker. Why? You should know both halachas. I need you to know this stuff. So I'm using this as an opportunity. For those who were here in Elul, you remember that something that's balua in something does not come out below reitev. You remember that? What's it called? Ein isur balua heilich mechaticha lechaticha below reitev. For those who were not here in Elul, I'll explain it. If you have a potato that was belei treif, and you take it boiling hot and you put it on this table, and it could be also boiling hot, table's kosher. Because without the reitev, a bliya, if it's not a potato, it will be a shtik chazer, it lasts at the table. But if it's a belia in a potato, it only absorbed chazer treif. Eliyahu Novi tells us, Eliyahu Novi is the Gemara telling us, that beloy reitiv, the belia doesn't come out. What's coming out of the potato? Just the taste of potato, not the belia. So now we know why you could put cham yovesh on a treif keli, any treif keli. Because how's the time in the keli? It's only a belia. Ein isur balua hoilich mechaticha lechaticha beloy reitiv. That's the answer. Why could you put yovesh cham on a treif keli? Any treif keli. If it's completely dry, there's no reitiv whatsoever. Yeah, nothing's going to come out because a belia is not yoitze beloy reitiv. Okay, that is a possibility to for the Taz. That why does the Taz say you could put yovesh cham on a treif keli? Because beloy reitiv, nothing comes out. It's a belia. The problem is it shouldn't even any treif keli, not only belia but soinen. It should be any treif keli you could put yovesh cham. That's not the real reason why it's not. No. Yeah, if they're both hot. Can. Nothing comes out. The problem is it's sheker. The din of ein b'liya heilich b'lei reitiv does not apply to a keli. I'm going to tell you why. Something has to come out of the potato. So if there's no reitiv, what's coming out of the potato? Which time? Potato. Right? The b'liya is not coming out. By a kli, if the b'liya doesn't come out, so what is coming out? Pots don't give tam. Material doesn't give time. Lashon HaPoskim is Einba Plata Migufoy, meaning it doesn't have its own plata to give. It doesn't have anything else to spit out. See, a potato has what to spit out. It could give her the potato, or it could give the bliya from the potato. So I can tell you, beloy roitiv, it's only the potato. With roitiv, it's the potato and the tam bliya. But by kli, there is nothing else to come out. So what is coming out? Certainly.
Why can't we say it's only the potato?
No, what do you mean? We could. But by a kli, what are you going to say?
Who says something has
There's
to
a
come
bliya.
out?
Oh, cloud, something has to come out. Good to catch with the teretz. Something has to come out.
Why can't we say only the potato comes out?
When? By the kli, there's only blias isser in there. No, the kli is the potato. The kli is bedoimet to the potato. And inside the kli, you have isser. So when you have a food that has inside isser, I could say the food is giving tam. A kli, material, doesn't give tam. It's called ein ba pleito migufa. It doesn't have its own pleito. Correct? Since it doesn't have its own pleito, so what's certainly coming out? The bliya. So anyone who, if someone who learned here today, I would try to shoot that teretz to, what do you mean? He would write it by saying, but play to me gufa. It's a sheker dik teretz. I saw in a Shiur from a big Rosh Hashiva on a sugya, and he mamish does what I just did. And I'm like, I do that in Shiur. You can't do that in print. Someone wrote down the Shiur. He tricked the Talmidim like I tricked you also. I told you, what do you mean? Ein bolo heilich mechticha lechticha b'loi reitiv. So therefore, the bliya from the keli doesn't come out b'loi reitiv. But it was a trick because it's not true. Because I'm for the shenamo. Because they're b'meichel. Avo b'kli yoyser b'loi reitiv. It's clear. So my attempt at that is sheker. I only wasted your time to teach you new halachas. Back to square one. What in the world is the Taz talking about? You cannot put anything hot on a treif keli. I don't care. There's no teretz of bliyas don't come out b'loi reitiv because a kli bliyas do come out b'loi reitiv. It's mausim. Zok the Chavos Das. You guys all made a huge mistake. He quoted a Gemara. Look at the Gemara. And Yaakov Malankovich actually got it right. You got it right. I said it for the tape. Everybody hears your name there. You got it right. The Gemara says the following: Kol hakelim shenishtamshu b'chometz b'tzoinen. Any keli that used chometz for cold, mutar l'shtamish b'matzah. You could put even hot matzah on it. What does nishtamish b'tzoinen mean? Taich, mishtamish b'tzoinen. Taich, what that means? Explain. You used it for tzoinen. It wasn't boileya b'tzoinen. You put a cold piece of cake on this table. Did the table become chometzik? Yes or no? No. Take off the chametz, clean it well. It's a kosher pesach dikikeli. What's the problem? Huh? There's no bliya. Understood? The case that the Taz brought, he tricked me. The case the Taz brought, where it seems to say you could put hot on a treif keli that was beleya b'tzoyin, and check it. It's not what it says. Look at the Lashon Taz. He even quotes it the Gemara. When his Barim calls that the cliche, shtamish b'isur tzoyin, mutul anich b'yavushchan. It never became chometzik. It never became treif. You put a piece of chazer on this table, make the table treif. Put a piece of chazer on the table. Does it make the table treif? No, it makes the surface dirty, maybe.
Or covered.
Unless it's milicha kvisha.
But he's saying over here, do what?
Nishtamish means nishtamish. Says the Chavos Das. The Taz makes now no sense. The Taz comes later with a kavachayme. Madach, you could use yovesh cham. Can't you certainly use tzoyin in lach even, not just yovesh? The Rama says you can only use tzoyin in what? We decided? Yovesh. The Taz says, I'm telling you, you could use even cham. Certainly you could use tzoyin in lach. Says the Chavos Das. This is how the Kal V'chomer sounds. Ma docha kosher keli is still kosher, right? Because it was only nishtamish b'tzoyna, so it's really kosher. So a terefa keli that was beleya b'tzoyna, you could use tzoyna and lach. Does that make any sense? Such a Kal V'chomer? No. Maybe it's true you could use tzoyna and lach. That's not the conversation. But a Kal V'chomer, it certainly is not. Ma docha, I have a keli that never became treif, so you could use cham. Oh, a keli that became treif, you certainly could use tzoyna and lach. Hello? One is treif, one is not treif. What are you saying? Chavos Das asked the Kash on the Taz. He says, Al Korchoch, the Taz never meant you could use Yovesh Cham Take if the Keli was Beleya. No, for sure not. So then what's your Kal V'chomer? You know who made a mistake, Pshat, in this Taz? Two Svarim made a mistake. One is the Darkei Halacha, but in the back he says, it's obviously it doesn't mean Bala. But the Shara Yeridei, want to pass me the Shara Yeridei there? He clearly made a mistake in this Taz. And he knows it's a mistake. I hope in the new print he fixed it. He has his son here, so I asked him if I could argue with his father in public in Shiur. He said, not a problem. Okay, so we will when I give the Israelis. He quotes here the Taz Gimel in the Siva Taz. He says the following. He says like this: Kach gab sever Taz hadin, the klisha bola al yedei tzoinen mutal aniach by dover tzoinen lach, by dover yovesh, bein tzoinen u bein cham. It's not true. It's absolutely not true.
How does the Ater Zohar understand?
Who's that? I don't know what that is.
It's quoted in the Shach.
I don't know.
Because he clearly knows it's not that the Gemara is not talking about Balua.
I don't know. Yeah, you're confusing me. We're learning a Taz now. You're confusing me.
Yeah, but the Ater Zohar believes that that's not Pshat.
Who's that Terezov?
Right, he's, I think, Rishon.
No, it's the Lavush. Where are you showing me that Terezov?
Shach, right
Where?
before Avad.
Right before Avil? Right before Avil Be'emes?
Mikro Mokin, Kevan Shalom, Nivla Beha, Yisu Ayde Chamin, Rak Ayde Kibush Emelicho,
Right.
Kai Gavna, Mutter Ishtamish Bertinin.
Right.
The Dibri Ater Zohar Zimugum Gomin. So Ater Zohar disagrees with this last line.
I don't know what it says in the Terezov.
Right, but I'm
That's
saying-
what you're referring to. This V'divad Gugamim?
Yeah.
You looked at Terezov?
No.
So what do you want from me?
Well, he disagrees.
Stop. I don't know what you want from me. Megum Gomim. I don't know what he says. I don't know what's stuttering over there. What you don't even know what he says, and you're already asking me kashas.
I know he disagrees with the previous line.
He doesn't say. He says it's divrei aterazov megum gomim. I don't know. He mixed up all the shittas. I don't know what he writes there. I didn't look up the lavush. If you know what it says and you want to ask a question, you're welcome to do that. Slicha. Okay. So basically, something is fishy here in the Taz. Okay. But la halacha, the Taz is mechadish. We'll get back to the Taz in a second. The Taz is mechadish. He changes two words in the Ramah. He says, actually, I'll tell you what the Ramah meant. The Ramah took his tirutzim and he liked them each independently. Till now, what did we learn that Ramah did? He took all the tirutzim and what did he paskin? The chumrah or the kula? Chumrah. What if he does the kula? How would the Ramah look if he would take the kula of every teretz? It's very simple. Yovesh is always mutter, right? Even if the kli was once upon a time beleya bechamin, and if it was beleya betzoyne, you could even use lach. Each teretz independently is fine. Says the Taz, I'm telling you that's what the Ramah meant. He never meant to take the chumras of both tirutzim. He meant the kulas of both tirutzim. But how do you do that in the Ramah? Simple. You go like this. Aval dover yovesh mamish. Oi, that's number one heter. Yovesh you could always use. Oi. Oi adds the word oi. He didn't repeat the word yovesh. It's a mistake. It's supposed to say lach. That's how the Taz learns. He adds the word oi and changes the last yovesh to lach, and the Ramah is beautiful. Kafter v'ferach, it's beautiful mamish. He actually holds like his terutzim, each one independently.
But would that work with what Ayin Lakama and Siman Kuf is?
I don't know. Look it up. We'll see soon. Akaponim. So the Taz base, the Ramah kipshuta means the chumras of all tirutzim. It's only mutter if it was bala b'tzayin and you're using yovesh. The Taz says no, actually it's the kulas of all tirutzim. Because it makes no sense. The Loshen, it says, he brought a raya because you could even use cham, which we just said is something doesn't make any sense, right? In the Taz, okay. We'll deal with that in a minute. But all he did was, the maskana, he says, actually, I'm telling you, you tweaked the Ramah a little bit to change one word and add one word, and now everything makes a lot of sense. You tackle that to use lach, if it was bala b'tzoinen, kal v'chomer from cham, the way he learned it, and yovesh you could always use. So you have to read it like this. Ava dover yovesh mamish, oyim loy bala akli rak b'tzoinen, mutlaniach bedover lach, b'lo yadochen klar. What's your problem, Tzvi?
The Ramah doesn't write the word Bala B'Tzeinen, B'Chamin. He
Yeah.
writes Nishtamshu B'Chamin, just like the Gemara in Pesachim.
Which Ramah? Say that, but he brings cases of Bala B'chamin.
So
Stop kriching now.
no, because that's how the
He brings he brings over the cases of Bala B'chamin. Clearly,
even more mach.
he brings Samachtes, which is Melicha, and he brings a raya from there. Sakasha.
Right, but okay.
Say that. The Shach certainly learned that Bala means Bala B'Kvisha Melicha. So Akaponim, basically what happens here is one second. So basically, according to the Taz, the Ramah is Mekel on the coolest of both in Yonim. All right. Now, nachzer to the question that we had on the Taz. How did the Taz get to the heter of Lach? He made a kal v'chomer that you could use cham, which we decided is an impossibility. You cannot use cham on a kli that was bala b'tzoyin. It's impossible. V'lochein, tainet te pri hodar, and obviously Tzvi Horowitz already figured out a little bit of that, and so did many other people. Whoever told us that the Taz ever learned pshat in Bala B'Tzoyin and in the Ramah, like the Shach, that it was Kvish or Malicha? Now, where did the Shach get the idea that Bala B'Tzoyin means Kvish or Malicha? From many of the cases that the Ramah brought, they happen to be Kvish or Malicha. But if you close your eyes, right, and you read a Ramah that says Tzoyin and Cham, what can you learn Tzoyin means? Nishtamish B'Tzoyin. The Kli never became Treif Takeh. So what the Ramah essentially is saying is, yeah, that a Kli that never became treif, for sure you can use. But a Kli that became treif, then you can't. Then you can't. And now the Taz makes a kal v'chomer. Madoch, you could use cham and a Kli that never became treif. You certainly could use tzoinin lach, for sure, that never became treif. Correct?
He only quotes one.
So that's not, we're not going there. We're
And
not,
that one is
we're not,
But that, okay.
we're not going now to break up. There's a few places. Yayin Nesach, Kankanim Yayin Nesach.
You guys wrote it afterwards.
Doesn't matter, it's a bliya through Kovush. What's that's to Kankanim Yayin Nesach.
That's...
I can ask for a lot of them. Stop, we have no time for this. He'll ask and I'll answer. And man, take a look at all the rayos, many of them, befeinish are bliyas. Tamin li man yeshen omer lecha. So upon him, the Taz learned that you don't have to, there's no such thing that the Ramah was referring to Bliya B'Tzoinen as Kovush HaMalicha. The Ramah meant Nishtamish B'Tzoinen or Bala, period. In Kol HaTeira Kula. From the beginning of Teira until Tzadik Aleph, and from after the Sif and beyond, nobody ever makes a chilik between Cham and Kovush HaMalicha. There's no such thing. The Shach sounds to be like he made it up based on the Ramah. But in fact, the Taz didn't have to learn like that. And then he has actually a good Chavachimer. Madoch, if you could use Cham and a kosher Kedi that never was Belea, you certainly could use Tzayin and Lach. How do you fit it into the Ramah now? Says the Priyader, I'll tell you how to read it. This he did for me. The Svara I figured out myself too, but this he did beautifully. You read it like this. Aval Dover Yavish Mamish, Oi, Im Loi Bola Hakli, Kama, Loi Bola Hakli, Rak Nishtamish B'Tzoyinen. Rak, you add the word Nishtamish B'Tzoyinen. Loi Bola, the way we read it, Loi Bola Hakli, Rak B'Tzoyinen. Loi Bola Hakli! Correct? Like the famous joke from Zalmud Shikir, Olav Hashalem. Rashi says the first Rashi in Teira, L'hoy Tzorech L'haschel Elam Me'achedech Zalachem. No, that's not how you read it. Omer Reb Yitzchok, L'hoy Tzorech, who needed the world? As Ilan Tepshat. L'hoy Tzorech, L'hoy Bolakli, finished. Rakli Shtamish B'Tzeinen. Then you could put Dover Lach, and actually Cham. We're not learning Ilchos Cham here, but you could actually put Cham also. What about Cham Lach? Some say Cham Lach too, why not? This pshat in the Taz is a chumrah or a kula?
That could be a whole. That could uproot the whole Kabbalah Chemer because.
No, that's the Kabbalah Chemer.
Yeah, but why make a difference? Why say specifically Yavish?
Because it says lach. He changed the word to lach. No, but why daf ketzoinen? That should be your question. It could be even cham.
Yeah.
Because we're learning Yilchas Tzoinen now. This pshat is a chumrah lahalacha or a kula lahalacha? Huh?
Kula.
Huge chumrah. There is no heter except for Yovish, according to the Taz. A treifa keli, I don't care how it became treif, you could only use Yovish. If the kli was like bola, yeah, then you could use lach or cham. Aval davar Yovish mamish is what you could use on any treifa keli. Oi, im loy bola hakli, yeah, then you can use whatever you want. But any treifa keli, only Yovish. The poship shot in the Taz, the way we learned till now, he actually has a kula. If it was bola betzoinen, you could use lach. Now we're learning there's no such thing as bola betzoinen. Bola betzoinen does is bola. That's the same thing as cham. So the only time, according to the Taz, al pi apri hodor, you could use tzoinen without adoche is yovish mamish. That's it. Any other treifa keli, you need adoche. Period. Yeah, loy bola hakli at all. Yeah, sure, you can do whatever you want. So by what?
Why can't you use lachluchis then?
No,
By lachluchis.
we still don't know why. Stop, we don't. That's usr.
What?
That's where you need hadocha. We still didn't discuss why. Okay. We didn't even get there yet. We're still trying to figure out what. So for the what, we have 3 pirushim now in the Ramah. Pirush Aleph is kipshutai. Basically, it's only mutter. It's only mutter if it's yavesh and bala b'tzainin. Pirush Sheni is or bala b'tzainin. Or bala b'tzainin.
This is all in the shach.
Huh?
This is all now.
No, this is the Ramah. No shach. We didn't do shach yet. Or bala b'tzainin. Yeah? Or yavesh mamish. And the third pirush is the tazapi, the pre-order, let's say, that I only could use yavesh mamish and a treifa keli. Im loy bala akli, you could do whatever you want. This is all the what. The shach says, I'm going to talk about the why. Laman Hashem, who cares what you're using in a clean treifa keli if it's cold? Like, why is there bechal a problem? I don't care if you're using lach. I don't care if it was bala b'chamin. I learned that I'm all kipshuta. He makes no sense. The why doesn't make any sense. There's no reason whatsoever why I can't put liquid on this keli if it's treif and then drink the liquid if it's cold and didn't stay there for 24 hours. What in the world is the problem? And he brings raya after raya after raya that the Ramah makes no sense. There's no such svara, and it's completely mutter. Period. So what's the bala yiter then? Dirty, push it, not a clean keli. But if it's a clean keli, he's not here to explain the Ramah. He doesn't care about the problems of the Ramah. He doesn't care about the lashonis, oik, lach, biovesh, mutter. Period. It's exactly what you just asked. You could go to a lounge and order a Coke and a treifa keli as long as it was clean. Gesundheit. Tishteh besimcha. Not a problem. He does bring one svara that maybe there's a case that it's osir. Could be cheres is osir. Okay? He brings a svara that cheres might be osir. Why is cheres osir? So there's 2 svaras in the Rana why cheres is osir. Some claim that cheres is bliyosei merubah. Cheres, when it's beileya, the guf hakli is like the food. So then, if you touch something wet, you're going to need hadocha. What happens if you touch wet meat to wet cheese? You need hadocha. Touching wet meat to a kli cheres, yeah, is like touching cheese. That's why you need hadocha. There's another svara of cheres. The reason of cheres is because cheres you can never kash it. If I'm going to allow to use it for tzoinin, you might forget to do. You might forget to kash it and use it for hat. So the reason why cheres is also is because you might forget. Okay, that can be the pshat. Shach is not going with that mahalach of cheres because if that was the pshat, basar chai would also be also right. Who cares if you're going to do adocha on the food? You still can't use it b'tzoinin because you're never going to kash it a keli, and you leave it one day, you'll forget and use it b'chamin. So the shach is going with the svara of b'liyosei merubah. That's why only lach is also and not yovish. L'poil, it doesn't seem like the shach accepts that chiluk. Even cheres is okay. The Alter Rebbe does write in Ilchus Pesach that there's a minig by cheres, by Pesach to be machmir, a minig. But otherwise, even cheres is okay. It's 100%. If it's clean, it's not a problem. No problem whatsoever. That's what the shach holds. So far, so good. So now we have another shitta. We have 4 shittas now. You have the shitta of the Ramah kipshutai. You have the shitta of the Ramah al piataz kipshutai. You have shitta of the Ramah al piataz prihodor. Now you have the shitta of shach. What's the problem?
I think that was last piece of the shach. I don't think you might have mentioned.
What was that?
Kava.
Who?
If you use it a lot. Agai and kava.
Say that. We can get there yet. So akalponim using bitzoinin a treif and a keli. You have 4 pirushim, 4 shittas. One of the nafkiminis between the 2 pirushim in cheres, by the way, if it's b'liyosei merubah or you might forget, would be, what about not cheres that you can't kasher? For example, the Pri Megadim brings a case. You have a wood keli that needs libun gomer. You have a wood spatula from a pizza oven that you put in the pizza and you take out the oven. So to kasher that wood spatula, you need libun. Can you do libun on wood? Try, right? It's going to burn. So you can never kasher it. So according to the second svara of the Vort of Cheres, you cannot use that b'tzoinen either. You can't use it, period. Why? Because you might forget and use it b'chamin because you can't kasher it. It seems that the Pri Megadim does hold like that. The Shach does not. The Shach certainly only meant B'li Yosei Merubah. He didn't mean the other svara of Cheres. He only meant B'li Yosei Merubah. Because if it will be the other svara of Cheres, certain details of the Shach would not make sense. He says Yovish you could, but not Lach. Oh, it's Cheres. But if it's Cheres, even Yovish you can't. The Mechaber says they're not worried about Basar Chai. Must be only B'li Yosei Merubah. So the Pri Megadim, when he comments about not using Cheres or any other keli that you can't kasher, he's not explaining the Shach. He's actually arguing on the Shach. But it seems from the Alter Rebbe and other poskim that we actually are not worried about cheres either. Okay, so now you have all these shittas here. So what do we do with Payil? So the Pri Megadim brings from Siman Kuf Chaf Aleph that if it's rochutz heitev, there's no shaila b'chlal. This whole Ramah, even if you learn the Ramah kipshutei, that you're not allowed to use a treif keli b'tzoinen, that's if it's not rochutz heitev. If it's rochutz heitev, it's no problem. The Alter Rebbe says the same thing in Hilchos Pesach. That if it's rochutz heitev, you can use even a chametz dikekeli b'tzoinen. We're not allowed because we sell our chametz dikekeli to the goy in Lubavitch. Okay, but be'ikar adin, you could use a chametz dikekeli on Pesach as long as it's rochutz heitev. Cheres, he says you shouldn't only apia minig by Pesach, and otherwise you're talking allowed. The problem is that in the Mara Mekoim is there, where the Alter Rebbe writes rochutz heitev is okay. He says shach. Sivkot and Gimel Siman Tzadik Aleph, which I just said is a pella because the Ramah himself in Kuf Chaf Aleph learns that everybody agrees that if it's rochutz heitev, it's mutter. And if the Alter Rebbe is talking about rochutz heitev, why is the tziyun to the shach? But for whatever reason, the tziyun is the shach, which means that we actually hold like the shach. That enochanami, a clean treif, a keli, you're allowed to use betzoinen, even lach. There are two yotzim and aklals. Number one, b'derech keva, only b'derech aray, because if you do it b'derech keva, what's going to happen? You're going to forget and use it b'chamen. Also, tavlin. Tavlin is only dry. He brings a kasha. It says in the Orchos Chaim, "Eine moitzi davar kosher," a kli, which is davar kosher, doesn't give out time if what you're putting on is yovish. Shach says, "Hello, I just finished saying you can put whatever you want, even lach, because it's tavlin. Tavlin is only yovish. A wet tavlin you're not allowed to put lechatchila on a. It's not going to be also b'diavad on a treif keli even b'tzoyin.
Then you're allowed to get a...
So the sikum advorim, if you are in a lounge, yeah, you can order a glass of water, a Coke, whatever, as long as it's not hot, in a treif keli. Because even if the keli is 100% treif, it's going to be okay. Now we're going to analyze for 5 minutes, how in the world did the keli become treif in the lounge? It's a glass that they serve you drinks. How did it become treif? Come on, guys, let's go.
Someone was eating hot food with it?
Somebody was eating hot treifa food with it. Well, it for sure wasn't that hot.
It was put in
Usually.
the dishwasher.
Okay, so the dishwasher and the sink is really the only way, because otherwise it's usually cold. I mean, you're drinking, you're not eating boiling hot food. Okay.
Because you are and you take a sip and
Yeah.
Usually it's not yatzei leathers, the food, if you're putting it in your mouth. Usually you're licking it.
Yeah, and the guy's eating something treif that's not hot.
The teas are klisheni already, very good. The teas already are klisheni. He tried to say, yeah, you're drinking something hot. And now he ate something treif, and now the treif went into the water. It's all the klisheni. It's not going to be a problem. We're going to learn that. The only main problem is the dishwasher or the sink. Even that, how much, if those who already learned the whole tour, how much in a dishwasher, how deep in the keli will the iser go if you mamish wash treif in the dishwasher? They what? Remember, if the bottom one is cold, every dishwasher or sink is only pouring hot water. Pouring hot water is going to, he said, how much? Only klippa. Even yatzil only they klippa anyway. So how much of the kli only they klippa? So you could have shishim b'chlal, even if it will be a problem. Number two, they use soap. A lot of times soap is poigim. All I'm saying is that you're not even so sure that the keli that you think is treif, that you have in your soft drink, is b'chlal really, really treif al pi halacha. In most cases, it's actually not really treif al pi halacha.
Can you drink coffee?
No, for sure not. You cannot drink coffee because if it's taket reif, the coffee is usher. However, b'di'evet, it could be it's a eina ben yoimai. You have to find out. If it's a eina ben yoimai, it's going to be mutter. It could be even if it's a ben yoimai, if it was only irui, so now you have shishim, whatever. Ein kan mekoimai. All these halachas we're going to mitzvah Shem learn. But the sikum of this sif is.
Could there be a case where it would be usher?
Could be, yeah, if there was no soap and you put it in a kli, if they wash the dishes in a kli dish in mamish, they fill up a big vat of hot water and they put it in together with treif. Maybe, sure. But in most cases, it's not really going to be treif. But you still can't use it for hat because it did become quasi treif. But to be oiseh b'di'ever, the ta'asur to use it b'tsoinen, I'm not even sure the Taz would be machmir here. Because l'poel mamish, it's not really treif. And number two, it's usually rochutz heitev also. Hopefully, they get checked by the Federal Drug or the Food Administration or FDA, whoever it is. Hopefully, it's clean, right? So, b'meila, for all these above reasons, you're technically allowed to do that b'derech aray. This is a sikum of this sif with all the pirushim shebedavar. We'll stop over here. Go here. Whoever this is, take it back.